I never thought I'd hear myself say this, but I'm a little worried about Donald Trump. I'm worried he may be on the verge of a sudden, major heart attack, or a stroke, or a fatal golfing accident. Food poisoning is another possibility. Or he could overdose on prescription medication. A tanning bed mishap is not out of the question. He could accidentally hang himself during autoerotic asphyxiation, or get shot by a lone wolf white supremacist terrorist trying to start the RAHOWA. The Russians could spray him with that Novichok perfume. There are any number of ways he could snuff it. I don't mean to sound alarmist, but the resistance is running out of non-lethal options for removing Donald Trump from office. Here they are, in no particular order: resistance non-lethal option number 1, resistance non-lethal option no. 1 is winning the 2020 election, which isn't looking very promising. The Democratic Party is in shambles. According to the polls, their current frontrunner is a senile, hair-sniffing, finger-sucking freak who never met a credit card company or a healthcare lobbyist he didn't like, and who rivals even Donald Trump when it comes to incoherent babbling. Yes, that's right, folks, it's Smilin' Joe Biden, vanquisher of the razor-wielding, swimming pool gangster, corn pop to the rescue. As far as I've been able to gather, the plan is for to out crazy Trump, and thus win back the bogus loony demographic by going completely off his medication and having a series of scary-looking petite mal seizures on national television. That is, unless the impossible happens, and Biden is vanquished by Bernie Sanders, aka the magic socialist, who Democratic Party bigwigs would sooner publicly immolate themselves than nominate, and who the corporate media are already accusing of being a lying, sexist, communist, crypto Trump-loving, Jew-hating Jew. Sanders, it seems, has gone totally native. He's out there, in the heart of the American darkness, like a Colonel Kurtz, operating without any decent restraint, totally beyond the pale of any acceptable human conduct. According to the latest reconnaissance, he is building another revolutionary army of fanatical, doped-up, hacky-sacking socialists that he will lead into the convention in July and deliver to Biden, or Elizabeth Warren, or whichever soulless corporate puppet the party honchos eventually nominate, and then obsequiously stump for them for the next 5 months. Or, who knows, maybe Michael Bloomberg will put the Democrats out of their misery and just buy the party and nominate himself. The Crush Bernie movement is just getting started, but you can tell the resistance isn't screwing around. Hillary Clinton just officially launched her national "Nobody Likes Bernie" campaign at the star-studded 2020 Sundance Film Festival. Influential Jewish journalists like Bari Weiss and Jeffrey Goldberg, and Ronald Lauder's newly founded Anti-Semitism Accountability Project, have been Hitlerizing him, or, rather, Corbynizing him. Obama has reportedly promised to stop him, if necessary. MSNBC anchor Joy Reid brought on a professional body language expert to phrenologize Sanders live on the air, and, as I said, they're just getting started. In any event, no matter who they nominate, they have no chance of winning in November. How could they, given the total stranglehold the Russians now have on American democracy? As Adam Schiff just reminded everyone, unless Donald Trump is removed from office, we cannot be assured that the vote will be fairly won, because at any moment Putin could order Trump to pressure the Ukrainian president into investigating Biden's son's corruption by refusing to fund the Ukrainian military's resistance to Putin's secret plot to occupy the entire Ukraine and use it as a covert base from which to launch an all-out thermonuclear war against the United States, which Putin already controls through his puppet, Trump, and his network of nefarious Facebook bots, which, according to this expert on NPR, are already brainwashing gullible black people into voting for Bernie Sanders this time, or at least refusing to vote for Biden, like they refused to vote for Hillary last time, which, okay, I know, that sounds kind of racist, but we're talking NPR here, folks. These people aren't racists. They're liberals. Okay, I got a little lost there. The point is, if the election goes ahead, and Trump doesn't have an embolism or something, odds are, we're looking at 4 more years of Putin Nazi occupation. Which brings us to non-lethal option number 2. Resistance non-lethal option number 2 is, of course, the current impeachment circus. I don't even know where to start with this one. After 3.5 years of corporate media manufactured mass hysteria and intelligence community propaganda designed to convince the American public that Donald Trump is a Russian asset, and possibly Putin's homosexual lover, and also literally the resurrection of Hitler, the Democrats are trying to impeach the man for something that most Americans either A, believe is common practice among members of the political class, B, don't entirely understand, or C, do, but don't give a shit about. Seriously, it's like they held a contest to see if anyone could think of something that would out-anticlimax the Mueller report, and this is what the whiner came up with: an overacted, sanctimonious snooze fest, the stakes of which could not possibly be lower. Sure, the corporate media are doing their best to cover every twist and turn of the drama, as if the fate of democracy were hanging in the balance, but everybody knows it's a joke, or, alright, almost everybody. So we're down to non-lethal option number 3: resistance. Non-lethal option no. 3 is to whip up so much mass hysteria over white supremacist terrorism, the sudden resurgence of anti-Semitism, the imminent Putin Nazi apocalypse, which has been imminent since the summer of 2016, and other iterations of Hitler hysteria, that people can't really even think anymore, and will join the resistance and pour into the streets in their millions and demand Trump resign. The resistance has been at this for over 3 years now, i.e., casting the neo-Nazi subculture that has always been part of the political landscape as a powerful, worldwide fascist movement that is going to rise up any minute and Hitlerize the entire Western world. It isn't working. People aren't buying it. Okay, sure, some liberals are still buying it. But most people aren't, not anymore. For example, the hysteria leading up to the recent gun rights rally in Richmond, which according to the corporate media had been infiltrated by Nazi terrorists who were plotting to publicly mass murder each other in a desperate attempt to finally launch the Boogaloo, or the Raho WA, or whatever. Apparently, a few days before the rally, the FBI got some neo-Nazis to agree to conspire to murder some people and then violently overthrow the U.S. government with their arsenal of homemade machine guns. These neo-Nazi masterminds were allegedly members of the base, i.e., one of these little neo-Nazi clubs that we're all supposed to live in mortal fear of now. This one, as it turns out, run by a former, and possibly current, security contractor. The governor declared a state of emergency. Anti-terror forces were put on alert. No-fly zone was implemented, presumably to prevent the Russians from dropping a division of Putin Nazi paratroopers onto the lawn of the Capitol. The corporate media warned that it was probably going to be a bloodbath. Well, the day came and went, and no Boogaloo. No bloodbath. No Putin Nazi apocalypse. Just a lot of gun owners and militia types parading around with their guns and gear. Antifa didn't even show up this time, or, rather, the few anti-fascists that did were also armed and supporting the rally. And that's the problem with non-lethal option no. 3. There are only so many times you can have the corporate media scream, "The Nazis are coming," and then not produce any actual Nazis. The resistance has exceeded that allotment. Which brings me back to where I started, and my concerns about Donald Trump, and his health, and the assorted tragic accidents that could befall him before we get to November. Because, unless you believe that the intelligence community, and the transnational empire it is part and parcel of, is prepared to sit by and allow Donald Trump to serve another 4 years as president, well, I wouldn't be sharing any Diet Cokes or riding in any motorcades with him. I don't know, maybe I've been reading too much of that conspiracy theory stuff on the internet, but Senator Schumer's warning to Trump back in 2017 keeps playing in my head. Let me tell you, you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. Relax, folks. I'm just kidding, of course. The intelligence community would never dream of doing anything, you know, illegal. The community doesn't assassinate people, and commit all sorts of other atrocities. That's just a thing they do in the movies. In reality, they would never assassinate a president, especially not one they had been telling everyone is a Russian asset, and, literally Hitler, and a traitor, and a dictator, for over 3 years. Okay, those are pretty harsh words, but they probably don't really mean all that stuff. Odds are, they're just horsing around. They're a notorious bunch of jokesters, those CIA guys. C. J. Hopkins is an award-winning American playwright, novelist and political satirist based in Berlin. His plays are published by Bloomsbury Publishing and Broadway Play Publishing, Inc. His dystopian novel, Zone 23, is published by Snogsworthy, Swain. Volume 1 of his Consent Factory essays is published by Consent Factory Publishing, a wholly owned subsidiary of Amalgamated Content, Inc. He can be reached at cjhopkins.com or consentfactory.org. Read other articles by C. J. This article was posted on Tuesday, January 28, 2020 at 9:13 a.m. and is filed under Politics, Satire. Let's block ads. Why?